So we gotta talk about one of the Brothers of Destruction. Brothers with the Undertaker, from Death Valley, from the fiery depths of hell, it is Kane. And no, we're not talking about the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Kane the wrestler. We're talking about Patrick Kane, and some of the latest info and talking points that have been discussed over the past 24 hours or so. Now, a lot of this does bleed into whether or not Patrick Kane, current Red Wings forward, is going to come back with the Detroit Red Wings. His contract expires this offseason. He's making $4 million a year, and he's 36 years old. Sure, he is one of the older guys in the NHL, but he still scored 55 points in 67 games played this year. He did miss 10 games, but he is on pace for 59 points. Keep that number in the back of your mind, though, because that is kind of an important figure in this conversation. Sure, Kane may not necessarily be the most defensively refined guy, but he can at least move well enough to be able to produce some points, get on the board, be a power play threat, have those skills, have those hands, and just allow him to play NHL hockey still. That's not bad, right? But the main question is whether or not Patrick Kane will come back. And whilst we do not have the answers to that right now, let's go over some of the talking points that have surrounded Kane at this moment, because there are some pretty interesting, for lack of a better term, interesting things to go over with this dude. Starting out with what was written about on 32 Thoughts. Take a look at this. It's a post made on Twitter by Chicago Blackhawks News Hub, and it says this: per Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman, Kane's contract breakdown included $1.5 million in bonuses for appearing in 10 games, $250,000 in bonuses if he plays in 60 games, $500,000 if the Wings make the playoffs, and $250,000 for posting 60 points and making the playoffs. And looking at the current point production, Patrick Kane is not on pace for hitting 60 points, he is on pace for 59. The Wings have 5 games left, and if Patrick Kane gets 5 more points in those 5 remaining games, then he will hit 60, but current point production pace and the fact that the Red Wings are not really looking all too good lately, sure, they looked fine in yesterday's game against Montreal for the first period, but it's not really looking all too good like they are going to definitively get the numbers they need to get. Not to mention the fact that their final 5 games are all against pretty strong teams. They've got Florida, Tampa, Dallas, New Jersey, and then Toronto. According to Tankathon's Strength of Schedule strength list, Detroit has the 3rd most difficult schedule to end off the NHL season. So it may not be too easy for Patrick Kane to go out there and get 5 points in his remaining 5 games with the club. If we assume that he doesn't, he ends off at 59 points in 72 games played, then he will be missing out on 60 points. However, the fact is, it's not just 60 points that he needed in order to get this salary bonus. The Wings needed to make the playoffs at the same time. He gets a $500,000 check if the Wings make the playoffs, and he gets a $250,000 check if the Wings make the playoffs, and he gets 60 points in the process. Just based off of the way this tweet is written, there doesn't seem to be any clause for, oh, if he gets 60 points and the Wings don't make the playoffs, you'll get X amount of dollars. No, it all needs to happen with the playoffs. The only thing that Kane really is getting here is $1.5 million for appearing in 10 games, and then $250,000 for appearing in 60 games. The other ones, he's not going to get, since the Wings are not making the dance. So $750,000 Patrick Kane is losing out on here, and you know, maybe that's not the biggest deal in the world. Patrick Kane has made millions and millions of dollars already as an NHL athlete. I mean, if you go over to his Elite Prospects page, it says at the bottom here that his estimated total career earnings is $124 million. So Patrick Kane's doing fine. An extra $700K is not going to do too much, but at the same time, he did lose out on this money. Furthermore, there have been some conversations from the same Twitter account talking about Patrick Kane and his visible emotion after losing 4-1 to the Canadiens, which buried the Red Wings' playoff hopes. This was the post-game interview from yesterday, and Patrick Kane was visibly disappointed. He was sad. He was kind of having his head down. He was moping a little bit. He did not look like a happy camper. And I think for a lot of Wings fans, this is sad, but at the same time, it is kind of positive, for lack of a better term. Like, hey, Patrick Kane really wanted to see this Red Wings team succeed. He really believed in the team, that when they lose, when they get eliminated from the playoffs, when their hopes go down the drain because they lose in regulation to Montreal, he's nearly on the verge of tears here. And that's a good sign because it signifies that the guy had his head in the game, he wanted to see this team succeed, his heart was in the right place. And whether or not that contributes to Patrick Kane wanting to stay or go, that's far away. I don't think we could fully conclude that, but you could make the argument either way. Like, oh, Patrick Kane was so sad and disappointed that the team didn't end up making the playoffs that he's going to leave. Or, oh, he is so sad that they didn't make the playoffs that he's going to stay because he wants to be a part of this team and help them make the playoffs. It's one or the other. And ultimately, with reports coming out that Patrick Kane might be heading over to Chicago, for example, next season to mentor Bedard and to be there when Mitch Marner signs and everything, there is a possibility for pretty much everything. We can't come to any conclusions off of a video where the guy's crying or almost crying, it looks like. And ultimately, final news on Patrick Kane here today. It was announced earlier this afternoon that the Detroit Red Wings have nominated Patrick Kane for the Bill Masterton Trophy. Every NHL team has one nominee for the trophy, and Patrick Kane happens to be the Wings guy this year, which ultimately does make sense. You know, you think about some of the Bill Masterton Trophy qualifications, it's, overcoming adversity and doing this stuff, right? Like Dakota Joshua was nominated from Vancouver. Guess what? The guy had cancer in the offseason. Now he's back in the NHL and he's playing. He's doing just fine. A whole bunch of comeback stories and stories where guys had faced adversity. That's usually what we see with the Bill Masterton Trophy. Patrick Kane was nominated here, and for good reason. You know, the fact that he had to come back from a surgery that no NHL player has ever come back from before to play NHL games is a big deal. Ryan Kessler, Ed Jovanovski, a whole bunch of other guys who had the surgery were never able to play NHL games to a meaningful capacity afterwards, and Patrick Kane overcame that. He was the first guy ever to do that. And we were all saying, too, back when the surgery happened and back when Patrick Kane was preparing to come back to the NHL and he ended up signing with the Wings, etc., we were saying, like, hey, if there is anybody that's going to be able to defy the adversity and fully return, it's Patrick Kane. Like, no disrespect to those other guys who had it, but Ryan Kessler was a center, and he had to win faceoffs, and he's more of an up-down force, and he wasn't really as good as Patrick Kane was. Jovanovski, D-man, so kind of a different demand on the body as well, versus Patrick Kane, who can afford to be a little bit slower and be a little bit more patient on the wing, waiting for pucks and waiting for opportunities. It's not really a one-to-one comparison, but ultimately Kane has been good enough to play in the NHL and continue scoring at a decently high pace. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Patrick Kane losing out on $750,000 due to salary bonuses not being fulfilled. What are your thoughts on him being nominated for the Bill Masterton? And what are your thoughts on him being really disappointed and sad that the Wings ended up losing yesterday? Does this indicate an outcome as to whether or not he stays or goes? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.